American Airlines recently celebrated its 100th anniversary on April 15, 2026, joining numerous other airlines that have also celebrated 1 century in operation. Now, I've only been alive to witness just under a quarter century of Americans' history, but regardless, the airline has changed so much in that period. In this video, we're flying American's A321neo from Chicago to Dallas-Fort Worth. And with that said, this video is going to have more of a personal touch to it than normal, as it's going to be a reflection on my past 2 decades flying American, and also how my perception of the airline has changed over time. It's 4 a.m., so good very early morning from the Hall of Flags here at O'Hare Terminal 3. Right from the start, my OCD is through the roof because, in case you didn't notice, some of the flags are of countries that American no longer serves from Chicago, namely China and Germany. And for some reason, Hungary is still there too, which is funny because American never flew there from Chicago. It originally planned to fly between Chicago and Budapest in 2020. And I said 2020, so that says enough right there. The ceilings of Terminal 3 provide a little trip down memory lane because despite Beijing, Shanghai, and Tokyo no longer being served from Chicago on American, all of their banners are still here. While American does have a decent long-haul network from Chicago in the summertime, it no longer flies to Asia from O'Hare at all, and the only long-haul destination served year-round is London Heathrow. And don't even ask about 15 years ago unless you want to make us all sad, because back then, American had year-round services from Chicago to cities like Delhi, Tokyo, Shanghai, Dublin, Manchester, London, Brussels, Frankfurt, Paris, Rome, Moscow, and Buenos Aires. Honestly, pictures like this are enough to make a grown man cry. I mean, this is the American Airlines I grew up with and will always cherish. Some of my favorite memories being flying on the 777s between Chicago and London on my way to and from Pakistan to visit family. Of course, no one will ever forget the MD-80s, and honestly, none of the aircraft today even come close to flying on a Super 80. I actually wasn't too fond of the MD-80 when I was little, and only when its days became numbered did I finally begin to appreciate it. And lastly, the old American Eagle livery. Growing up in Champaign, Illinois, this is all I would see and fly on the Embraer 135s, 140s, and 145. There was really no other livery like the red, white, and blue stripes, and I don't think there ever will be. Now, yes, the American Airlines of today is a shadow of its former self due to many reasons. I don't like what the airline has become, especially when I think of what it once was. Yet, despite all that, nothing will ever replace the pride and happiness I feel whenever I see the word American on the fuselage of an aircraft. Yes, the airline itself might not be the best flag carrier for the US, but it carries the name American, and that in and of itself is something I always have and will continue to appreciate. It's also been great to see American's recent investments here at its hub in Chicago, especially amid recent spats with United, which will be the topic of the next video. Apart from resuming and adding multiple new routes, the airline has also championed a $300 million makeover for Terminal 3, which is still ongoing and expected to be completed in the summer of 2027. This morning, I'm flying on American's A321neo for the first time, and this is one of 10 examples that previously flew for Alaska Airlines, and before that Virgin America. You can easily distinguish the former Alaska aircraft by the door layouts, as these aircraft only have 4 on each side. In contrast, the legacy American A321neos and XLRs have 2 overwing exits and lack the L2 and R2 exit doors. Now let me know if you agree, but I always find it so comical just how many boarding groups we have here in the US, especially on American. I'm a general main cabin customer. I paid at least $70 more for a main cabin ticket over basic economy, and yet I'm still boarding in Group 8. Group 8. There are 9 boarding groups with only basic economy left after. Now I'm seated in 22A this morning, which is right in front of the lavatory bulkhead. These seats do recline a little bit, but for some reason mine decided not to. Either way, I've always found the seats on American to be comfortable. The vast majority of the narrow bodies have the same seats with literature pockets at the top, device holders, USB-A and USB-C on the newer planes, tray table, seat pocket, around 30 to 31 inches of pitch, and universal power outlets.
In the event of an emergency, leave all belongings and proceed to the closest usable exit. If needed, oxygen masks will drop from an overhead compartment. Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and pull the mask down to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth and put the elastic band over your head. Pull the straps to tighten and breathe normally. You should always...
Refreshment service this morning was the standard on American, with Biscoff cookies as the snack and a choice of beverage. I took some water, and even though I'm not a big fan of airplane coffee, it was early morning and I had a long day ahead. It's also really neat to see that the cookies, cups, and napkins are branded for American Centennial, and these definitely won't be around for much longer. Now, American Airlines is my most flown airline by a significant margin. I've taken over 80 flights with them throughout my life and have flown them as far as Cozumel, London, Honolulu, and Hong Kong. But it's no secret that the airline has been on a downward run for many years, especially following the pandemic. The onboard hard product on the narrowbody aircraft, especially compared to its direct competitors, is just not on the same level. Of course, I still have a huge attachment to American. I'll continue to fly it if the price is right, and I'll always prefer it over low-cost airlines, but it's no longer my first choice.
Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the seatbelt sign is turned off, and keep the aisles clear of all carry-on items. Take a moment to check your seat back pocket for any personal items.
Now, as we arrive at the gate, let me quickly share what I'm up to here in Dallas. I'd be here attending the one-day DFW Airline Collectibles show, representing Jetstream magazine. Now, I don't normally do promotional placements in my videos, but given this is a project I've been helping with for almost a year now, I had to mention this. Jetstream magazine is a brand new aviation magazine out here in the market, covering all sorts of exciting aviation news stories and topics. We're already on our third publication, and what you're seeing here is the second one published last year for winter 2025. The magazine has a lot of unique interactive elements and no shortage of interesting stories to read. If you're interested in learning more, check out the link in the description and even consider subscribing, because who doesn't enjoy reading? Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care everyone, and I will see you all again very soon.